World Cup predictions 2023. We are done with the group stage. We're moving on to the quarterfinals. So, first game, first quarterfinal, we're going to be having South Korea versus Canada. Who's going to win this one? I'm going to give the score first and then the explanation. This is going to be best of 5. So, 3-0 South Korea versus Canada. 3-0. It's going to be a clear win. Reasons: South Korea are the favorites of winning the entire World Cup. And I think they look really strong. They're still going to look really strong throughout the entire playoffs. And Canada did okay-ish in the group stage, but they did not get number 1 seed in their group. That's they're facing South Korea right now. So maybe they can take a map off of South Korea. I don't quite see it. South Korea versus Canada, 3-0. Canada's a good team, but I don't think it's going to be enough to defeat them. Second game, we're going to be having China versus United States of America. Okay, 3-1 for China. Reasons: China looked strong in the group stage, right? They looked pretty strong in the group stage. They did struggle a little bit against Spain. I wouldn't necessarily say struggle. It was more like the fact that Spain could put up a fight against them. I think that they're one of the strongest teams in the tournament, and United States looked pretty shaky during the group stages. Feels like they tried different strategies, they tried with different players, and eventually they kind of clicked together as a team. And the last game that they had versus Japan, when they put Super in, I don't know what's going to happen right now. Are they going to play with Coluge? Are they going to play with Super? Are they going to play... What are they going to do? What's the strategy? Meanwhile, China doesn't have to adapt that much, I feel like. They're just going to play their own playstyle. They can either match the Sigma, or they can just play with Doomfist, which is what they did during the group stages. But I do have to say this. The games, to my knowledge, will be played on stage, and games will feel a little bit different. Games do feel a little bit different on stage, so USA has the advantage of the home crowd, and I would not be surprised if USA would look like a completely different team that did in the group stage, and that they might actually pull an upset and defeat China. But my prediction again is 3-1 for China versus United States. Thank you for the endorsement. Moving on. Wait, I have literally some notes. Okay, moving on. This one: Great Britain versus Finland. Oh, the EMEC part of the bracket. This is incredibly hype. This game will be, I would say, I expect this game to be the closest one so far in the quarterfinals. Finland wins 3-1. Finland will win this one 3-1. Great Britain played amazingly in the qualifiers. They played amazingly in the group stage. They're showing the fact that they can play multiple team comps, that they're not only playing with Winton, okay? J-Cargo is playing a pretty good Sigma in the group stages. They look like a solid team, but at the end of the day, Sigma is probably one of Vestola's best heroes. And I think Vestola, who is Team Finland's tank, is probably one of the best Sigmas in the game at the moment. And we've seen in the group stages that Sigma diffs will matter a lot. I think that J-Cargo can put up a good fight against Vestola, but we'll have to wait and see if they can win in the Sig matchup, or if Great Britain will just play dive against them, which I don't think is going to work. Finland almost defeated also South Korea, so that's a huge sign. But again, the games will be played on stage. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to have to give it, though, to Finland 3-1. And now, the fourth quarterfinal, Saudi Arabia versus Spain. Saudi Arabia versus Spain. Saudi Arabia looked incredible in the group stages. Spain looked okay in their groups. They kind of put up a fight against China. But I have to say 3-0 Saudi Arabia. I think it's going to be 3-0. Hear me out. I love Spain. I think they're the underdogs of the entire World Cup. I've been cheering for them from the beginning. But I think the road will stop here for them. The only way I can see Spain maybe winning a map or maybe cause an upset is if Saudi Arabia wants to face them in the Bap Ilagi matchup. Because Spain's backline is incredibly strong, and they can just play with Baptiste Lagi. I don't think Saudi Arabia is going to match them on that. I think they're just going to play Lucio Bap, and they're just going to try to outcomp them. And even if they want to match them, I think it can go either way. You know, I think both backlines are incredibly strong. They're going to go either way. So Spain, top 8 is a good result. If Spain wins this one, though, it's going to be the biggest upset. No, actually, Canada winning versus South Korea would be like the biggest upset here. But then Spain winning versus Saudi Arabia. So again, quarterfinals, 3-0 Korea, 3-1 China, 3-1 Finland, and 3-0 Saudi Arabia. This means that the semifinals will be South Korea versus Canada. South Korea versus China, my bad. And then we're going to be having Finland versus Saudi Arabia. And let me hydrate. What do you think so far, chat? Agree? Disagree? Yes? No? Of the top 4 teams in the semifinals, probably a lot of you are going to say that USA will win against China. Probably. Or Great Britain. Agree? Disagree? Okay. Here and there, I guess. All guy chatting chatters. Now let's go. First semifinal will be South Korea versus China. In my opinion, these teams are incredibly strong, and this could have been the final of this edition of the World Cup. But this is how the bracket is right now, and they're gonna have to face each other in the semifinals. This will feel like a final. So, who wins this one? If it's best of 5, I think it's best of 5. It's going to be 3-1 for South Korea. 3-1 for South Korea versus China. I think that South Korea probably has more flexibility in the meta. You know, way more flexibility in the meta than China has. I think they can match China's playstyle. I think they can also play the Doomfist comp. I think they can also play the Sig comp. I think they can play multiple comps. Who knows what's gonna happen? Either way, it's gonna be a super hype game. It's gonna be some very high level Overwatch. I'm gonna give it to South Korea versus China, 3-1. Now, we're going to be having Finland versus Saudi Arabia in the second semifinal, which is a rematch, actually, of the game that they had. They were in the same group during the qualifiers for this World Cup. And from my memory, it was incredibly close between them. It was like one team fight away, I think, on the maps. I can't remember if it was 2-0 or 2-1 for Saudi Arabia, but I do remember that was an incredibly close game between them. Saudi Arabia looked so good during this tournament, but Finland almost beat South Korea. This being said, this game can go either way. It can go either way. I think that it's going to be the sweatiest game that we've seen. It's going to be so close. I think it will be 3-2 for Saudi Arabia, but it's going to be a matter of who can make less mistakes in front of the tournament. In front of a crowd, you know? Because they're going to be playing on stage and the nerves might kick in. Who knows what's going to happen? But I got to say, Saudi Arabia wins this 3-2 versus Finland. Now, I'm going to go over in the final. Final first, and then for the third spot. Wait, actually, third spot will be who? Will be China versus Finland. I'm going to be completely biased and say that Finland's going to win this one. I'm going to give it to Finland. Let's just say 3-1 Finland. Why? Because I feel like they have nothing to lose. Probably the nerves are going to go away. They're just going to win 3-1, okay? The probability of that happening is going to be very low. I'm going to say Finland third spot. Yeah. I know this is going to be out. Nah, no way. You know what? No. Finland 3-1. Don't care. Get your facts, logic, reason out of here. This is an emotional prediction right now. I got to cheer for Finland in this, okay? In 3-2-1. London prediction Spitfire. No, seriously right now. I think China's going to win the third spot. South Korea and China are top 3 teams in this World Cup. And we're going to see who's going to win the finals. Serious talk now. China wins this one. I could see a 3-0, 3-1 for China in this. So Finland takes 4th spot. China takes 3rd spot. And the finals. We're going to be having South Korea versus Saudi Arabia. Okay, chat. I'd get again. Pause for me to drink water. Who wins between South Korea and Saudi Arabia? 4-2 for South Korea. 4-2 for South Korea. Why? I would say experience in these tournaments right now. If this final would happen again, if there's ever going to be a World Cup in the future, I could see Saudi Arabia maybe winning. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a lot of pressure. I think both teams are so close to each other. It's going to be a super hype final, but experience in these situations will matter. And it's not necessarily about playing in front of a crowd and stuff. It's just the fact that South Korea has been in this situation of winning the World Cup 3 or 4 times already, while this is going to be the first time for Saudi Arabia being in a World Cup final. If Saudi Arabia doesn't do a lot of mistakes, individual mistakes, don't let the nerves get to them, don't get too hyped, they could cause an upset. But I think that South Korea is going to secure this edition of the World Cup and just go 4-2 because of their experience in this. Let me know what you think in the comments about my predictions. Who do you think is going to win? And if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe. Till next time, and we'll see you.